Now I'm just going to organise myself a little bit here. I'm just going to make sure that I haven't got any odd colours in here that I shouldn't have, and I'm just going to test that everything's nice and clean. So I think Nimish has just been showing you what we're going to be doing, and I'm just going to make sure that my airbrush is nice and clean before we load up for the next one. So I've put some cleaner through it, and I'm just giving that a little bit of a spray. And honestly, the horse that you've just been looking at, or the unicorn, because we added in a little unicorn horn on there, is absolutely so easy to do. And we've put that together using a round cutter. If I pop that there so you can have a look, and an oval cutter. Now they're from our plastic nesting sets. This is the smallest size circle cutter in the set, and I think this is actually probably the third largest oval that I've used, but depending on the size that you want to create, you can kind of chop and change that size if you want to. For the nose details, I've used a very small circle cutter. That was actually the smallest out of the Briar Rose set, so a small circle cutter is what you need. And then I've used this one as well, so that's from the rose petal, metal rose petal set. And I think that's the second size on that one as well. And that's all I've used. I'm going to use the pink airbrush colour, and I'm going to pop that in there now, and I'm just going to work my way through. So we'll go slowly so that you can see how we're doing it, very step by step. Now I've done this on a 10-inch cake at the moment, but you can very easily, and before we started Pat said, you know, that would be lovely if it was on a board and it could then be framed and kept afterwards. So I think that's a good point. You don't have to be doing this onto your cakes, so just be a bit flexible with where you're going with that one. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to place my circle cutter on there. I'm going to divide my cake visually and have this slightly to one side so that that's where it needs to be. Then I'm going to spin it round so that you've got where it needs to be, and I'm going to airbrush in this lower half of the circle very, very lightly. So give yourself a test run on your paper once you've switched on, and you don't want very much coming out, so just make sure you're very, very lightly, because you don't need very much on there. Now the weight of the circle cutter should be okay as it blows across. I'm just going to turn it back round to make sure that I've got the right position, so it should be just off centre. I'm going to spin it back round, and I'm going to hold on to it because it's clearly going to want to blow away. So I'm very, very lightly, and I'm only where my finger is, very lightly. That's all. You don't want very much. So I can just see the colour now. So that should be a little bit more we need. I'm probably being a little bit too light, but you can build up the colour. And I'm only in that one half of the circle cutter. And again, so just take away. So I'm just going to spin back round to myself. You can always go back over things if you feel that you need to, remember. So then I'm going to push to one side, and this is going to create the flatter side of the front of the horse. So if you kind of need a reference, we're now doing this part just here, and we're using the oval cutter, and we're just joining where the pink finished. So that's where we're going from there. So I'm going to spin back round again so you can see, and I'm going to push in a little bit further and hold on to it, and very lightly make sure that we're airbrushing where we need to be. So I'm holding again, and you need to go careful. Again, give yourself a little test if you need to. Now I've got a little bit of shadow on here, so I'm doing my best to make sure that I can see what I need to properly, and I'm probably going a little bit lighter than maybe I did when I was kind of putting it all together originally, but we can move it, and you can start to see how that's creating what you need it to. I'm going to spin it back round to myself again, and I'm actually just moving the cutter over from where it was a little bit, and now I'm actually just going to create that throat kind of cheekbone area that's just there. So if you want to kind of push it up a little bit, then you can do. And again, spin round, and I am going to hold again and very lightly on that inside section. So I'm right up by the cutter, and this kind of will give me some shadow areas as well. So very easy, and like I say, you can chop and change the sizes that you want to work with just by altering the size of the cutter. So we're keeping it light to start with. You can go over this to make it darker if you want to, and we will show you how to darken down a little bit after. So you can see the shape starting there, and again, just by moving the cutter in or out, you can change the type of horse that you're doing or the style of the unicorn. Now we're going to look at creating the nostrils, so I'm just going to place that in position. Probably around about there, I think is going to be okay. And I'm actually going to come in from the very top, because this is what's going to give me a little bit of shadow and shading. And then just move that so you can see now you've got your nostril straight away. So I'm going to turn it back round again, and we're going to look at the eye. And I'm turning it back round to myself so that I can find what I believe is going to be the best place for the eye. So again, make sure that you're happy before you proceed. I'm going to turn it round so you can see which way round it's positioned to start with, and this is the rose petal. And again, I'm going to go from above, not too much, just a little bit. I'm going to take that away so you can see what you've got now, and you can just start to see some definition coming through for the eye. And then I'm going to turn it the other way round, slightly angle it downwards, and do the same thing again. So from above into the cutter, and that just gives us a little bit of extra definition, and then take it away, and then you can start to see that eye developing now. Just turn that round so that you can see, and then you can look at giving yourself what will be an ear. So I'm just going to use the oval cutter again, and it's just a suggestion of an ear, so it doesn't have to be too defined, and I'm using the oval cutter. So if you want your ear kind of forward, that's what you can do. If you want it kind of sitting upwards, you can do that as well. So again, just very lightly with the cutter, just on the inside edge. So it just kind of carry on from where it was, really, if I spin that round a little bit. Now at this point, if you want to, we can start to change our colours a little bit. And to do that, I'm going to add in a little bit of blue to the pink that we've got. So I'm actually going to switch off, and I'm going to pop that back into the stand while we're doing this. We've got a shout out, so Pat's headed this way. I'm just going to turn it around so Nimish can see and show you where we're at the moment. Go for it, Pat, you're fine. Yep.
So South Africa is definitely with us this afternoon.
Oh, wow.
That's for sure. So we have Monica, and she says so beautiful, and that actually came in after the lily.
Oh, lovely.
So I'm hoping she's delighted with the unicorn. I'm sure she must be.
Oh, that's good.
And Rueda is also from South Africa in Durban.
Wow, lovely.
And Sonia from South Africa. And then Jean Parsons says hello from South Africa.
Oh my goodness, it is everybody in South Africa. Hi, South Africa. Hello. We know you're with us.
And then we have a hello from Fiamenta in Rome.
Oh, that's perfect. That's really lovely. Thank you. So what I've done is I've got kind of more headed towards a purpley sort of colour. So I've just added a very small amount of blue into the pink, and that's the blue that we were using earlier, just to change the tone of the pink and head towards purple. And that way you can then start to kind of make more of a defined look on the horse. So what I'm going to do now is add some colour, extra colour into here. I'm going to give it a little whiz round. I'm going to use a little bit of a brush to stir as well, but don't forget you can use your little pipette as well if you want to. It's nice and easy. I'm hoping I've got a nice colour to add in over the top. There we go. And I'm going to change my gloves as well in case, because I've got that when I'm holding the cutters, that's then going to go everywhere as well. So I'm just going to quickly swap those around. New pair of gloves. And when we're nearly there, in actual fact, another shout out. So I'm just going to repeat everything I've done as Pat's chatting away and doing shout outs there.
Okay. So
that's my gloves.
I think the USA has decided it wants to join in this.
I can hear everybody else.
Yes.
Hello, USA.
So
who have we got?
Jimmy, first of all, says, I love this cake and the kisses.
Lots of kisses back.
And Lynette Russell says, hi from Ayrshire in Scotland.
Oh, wonderful.
Anthony Edward Stark says, hello, I'm from USA, New York.
Oh, wow.
Octavia
Wonderful.
is from Chicago, Illinois. And Delana Whitlock says hello from Corpus Christi in Texas.
Wow. Do you know what? I'm really amazed. We've got so many people from everywhere. It's really wonderful. Absolutely fantastic. So I'm just darkening down. We added a bit of blue. Taking that away. So you can start to see a little bit of an extra colour, very softly, just over the top. Starts to give you a little bit more of a definition. Hopefully that's where it needs to be. Got a lot of shadow at the moment kind of falling in. So I'm using it from quite a distance, very lightly still, just to kind of give us a little bit more of a definition, which is what we needed. So now I think we're looking at adding in a mouth. I nearly forgot the mouth. So a little bit of practice on here. You just need a thin line. So just make sure that you're happy. And very light movement with that lever. Just very, very light. So this is where practice is always worth doing. And again, I've got quite a bit of shadow. So I'm just going to very lightly. Start to bring in the mouth, and then we're going to look at adding in the little unicorn horn. So I think probably the best thing to do is a clean piece of kitchen towel to show you, and all that is a little bit of a twisting going on. So this is a good practice. So in quite close, and a loop to loop quite closely, and descending as you go. So you're starting off with a loop, crossing over, and gradually reducing down as you go. So you can see that gives you that sort of shape. So that's what I'm going to do just up here. I am going to do it the way that I need to. So Nimish again. Oh dear, you must be so fed up with me, Nimish. You'd never believe we actually work in exactly the same office, right opposite each other near enough. I know you're going to think it's deliberate, but honestly it hasn't been. So here we go. It's a bit like trying to royal ice, isn't it? You're kind of nervous. I'm nervous. Here we go. If I'm honest, I couldn't see any of what I was just doing, but so I'm not 100% happy with that. But you can see it does look quite unicorny just by loop to loop. And then we're actually ready to start to add in a little bit of a creative flair. Now we're going to add in a little bit of luster as well. Now I'm just going to kind of think about a nice kind of S shape or a little bit of a swoosh for the mane. So just very lightly give yourself a bit of a guide to start with, coming around, and then add in a little bit of a swoop as you come down and around. Don't forget the forelock. A little bit up that way as well. And this is where you can start to add in a little bit more pressure. And you can also start to add in a slightly different colour if you want to. I'm going to get the gold out in a minute. Gold, bronze, or silver, something like that. And start to add in a little bit. Let me turn that round so you can start to see. I mean, it's very simple. It hasn't taken me very long to do. But now I'm just going to add in a little bit of goldiness so that you can see, and then after that I'd probably add in another darker colour. So I'm not going to spend ages kind of like doing this now. So I'm giving this a good shake. This is the luster one, so it needs a good shake. That little ball bearing is mixing the colour. And now before I normally put that into my airbrush, I use a little bit of glaze cleaner because that helps keep everything lubricated with the little glitter bits that are going in there. And just helps it flow through a little bit more. But hopefully you've got a good idea now on how easy it actually is to be able to create a horse or unicorn. Very easily using cutters that you may already have, and if not, I'm sure many of our trade customers out there are happy to kind of assist you in any purchasing of those as well at the same time. But oval and round cutters I think pretty much most of us have in our cupboard. So now I've got my gold in there, and I'm just going to add in the lid so it doesn't go all over Nimish. Get the name right. I feel so embarrassed. You'd never think that I actually worked with him instead. I feel so bad. I sense payback. So I'm just going to very lightly turn around to me. Again, just make sure you're happy. A little bit of shade coming into there. A little bit of into the little horn there as well. And you could, if you wanted to, place the cutter back over again on the eye and add in a little bit of extra colour onto the eye as well, which just helps give it a slightly different look as well. And you could do the same thing with the nose if that's what you wanted to do. Now on ours we've just covered it so that we've got a little bit of gold going all the way round and some very nice yummy edibles as well. And like I say, now is where I could spend ages now starting to do all of that. We've got a shout out. Go for it, Pat.
I'm on my way.
I'm going into play mode now. I want to start to play.
I've just been told, by the way, that the cake looks amazing on the screen.
Oh, that's really good to know. Thank you.
And
how easy has it been? Seriously, have I done anything technical? No. I've used an oval cutter and a round cutter and a couple of other cutters. Job done. And the airbrush did all the work.
And you?
A little bit.
Melissa says hi from Bolton, and she says, I love your unicorn.
Great. That's really good.
And Michelle says hello, and she sent you back a little unicorn.
Oh, thank you. That's really lovely.
And I just wanted to say, before you finish, maybe you'd like to tell people about the next issue of Cake It.
Oh, yes.
And the competition.
Yeah, of course, no problem. Just let me switch that off there because I'm not allowed to play now. Yes, so airbrush. There's 3 of these, I think it is. Pat will help me out if it's not up for grab, and that's in the next issue of Cake It. Now, Samir will put that information up on there, so if you go on to Cake It website, you'll be able to enter the competition very easily and have the opportunity to win one of 3 airbrushes and colours as well, which is an absolutely awesome prize and an awesome giveaway. So that's where you need to head to be able to be in with a chance of winning that. Oh, and there's what? Sorry, Pat's trying to communicate with me, and I didn't get that last bit, so I'm just going to have to come clean. What was that bit, Pat? Sorry.
I just wanted to try to remind you that the magazine isn't out yet. It won't be out for another couple of weeks, and then it will go on the Cake It website, so it's available to everybody in the world.
Oh,
it's
perfect.
free, doesn't cost you anything, and there's also a how-to on the airbrush. As well as the competition that Paul has been mentioning. So you just need to wait a couple of weeks, and then an airbrush could be yours.
That's great, isn't it? And for everybody that's been tuning in who's been so international, that's amazing. And like Pat just said, if anybody can enter this from anywhere in the world. So right up your street, you've been watching from everywhere, so you will be thrilled with that. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm ready for a cup of tea and a biscuit. So I think I've got my biscuit and my tea. Well, I thought I had my biscuit. Now, I know Sylvia always used to nibble everything that was behind here, so I'm looking at you, Nimish, and I'm thinking, this is you. And he's got guilt written all over his face right now. Anyway, it's been really great to be able to share this with you today. I hope you've really enjoyed it, and share it with everybody. And hopefully there'll be lots of horses and unicorns on cakes and boards everywhere. So have fun with your airbrushes, everybody, and see you next time. Thank you. Goodbye.